So hello Achiever, today I am with Rhonda Anderson. She helps business to build high performance sales team and she is with me to answer my questions and you will love that.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm outstanding. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much also. I would love to know, how do you do to help a business to build a powerful sales team? Do you have some tips, advices we can apply for an individual?
So for an individual or for an individual business?
Individual business.
Okay. So the first most important thing when I go into an organization, I do a couple of different things. I go into existing organizations and turn around struggling sales teams, and I build teams from scratch. The most important thing is very, very clear alignment about what the company's goal is, what the company chooses as its measures of profitability. For example, is it the number of customers that you need to bring on? Is it the amount of revenue per customer? And not that those are mutually exclusive, right? But what is it that is a win at the end of the day? Because once we have a clear target, then it's really easy to build a sales force that lines up behind it. So I would say one of the most important things is that the business be really clear about what it wants.
And you have to be clear about the goal about sales or about the result of the company. Only sales? What do you mean with goal?
Okay, so it's helpful if the company is clear about who it is and who its market is and what its mission and its goals and its path, what those things are. That's helpful. But younger companies are frequently in stages of flux, right? Early stage companies, and their identity's developing, and exactly who they are in the marketplace is sometimes not completely clear. And that's okay as long as you're continuing to work toward clarity. But when it comes to building a high-performance sales team, what must be crystal clear is what constitutes the win. So, for example, I've worked with an early-stage company that is unclear about what it considers the highest use of the sales team. So they can't decide whether or not the amount of dollars each client spends. So do we want a sales team that's going out and getting a bunch of clients spending $1,000, or do we want a sales team that's going out getting a handful of clients that's spending $5,000? They're two totally different targets, right? And so if you want to build a high performance sales team, you have to be clear about which is the target that is, and they can be both, right? You can say what we want is the highest customer count possible, spending the highest dollar amount possible, but you have to rank the priority. Because when you go to tell the sales reps what targets to focus on, and when you go to build a comp plan to support the behaviors that have us moving toward those targets, the target has to be clear and it has to be specific.
And can we apply that for a small business, for example, like me, an entrepreneur who sell his own product?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, it's a lot easier for an entrepreneur. And the reason is because there is always an infinite range of choices, right? And I think this is what trips up most companies, and it's what trips up most entrepreneurs. And that is, it's like, well, there's the feeling like I have to choose this or this. And for the moment you do, but not forever, right? So you could say for the first year and a half, the first 18 months of my business, the number of clients, the number of customers, the number of people following me is the most important target. Excuse me. And then that's what you go after. And then when you hit that 18-month point, you could decide that the most important thing is the amount of money those people are spending with me. Right? And then the next most important thing is, now I want to bring on fewer people that are spending more money at a time. So you have to select a goal, and for the moment the other possibilities collapse while you're singularly focused on that one, or they take second or third place. But over time that ranking can change. So for an entrepreneur it's much easier because you're the person who gets to make that decision. It's not like a committee of people all with different ideas about what the best direction is.
And I would love to know, according to you, what makes, I don't know if I can say that, what makes a good seller?
What makes a good salesperson?
Yeah.
You know what? Almost anybody could be a good salesperson. The chief characteristics of a good salesperson is somebody who's really clear about who they are, the value they're bringing, and what they're doing, who they're speaking to. And those are all qualities that can be developed.
And so when you work for a company like Monsanto, for example, do you know Monsanto?
Yes.
Maybe it could be hard to have the same values and them. How to sell something that maybe destroys the life of people?
Okay, so inherent in that, and I share your view that it destroys the life of people, but inherent is that question, or underlying that question is the idea that their products destroy the lives of people, right? So that's built into that question.
Yeah.
So if you believed that, A, you probably wouldn't have applied for a job there to sell what they're doing, because there would be an inconsistency in their values and your values to begin with. But let's pretend that you had no idea what they did and you desperately needed a job and you ended up in their sales force, and I'm not even sure they have one, but let's say they did. As a salesperson, in order to be really good, in order to be really effective, what you would have to do is figure out a way to line up your values with their values, right? So you would have to find out what it was that they did that you could align with, provided that the things that they do that you can't align with don't outweigh that. So really in any situation, if you're in a company and you don't align with their values, go somewhere else. That's the simplest thing. Go somewhere else. And when you're a really good salesperson, and by the way, there's a direct relationship between your level of personal confidence and personal power, which are both a result of clarity, right? Really knowing who you are and being really clear about your own values, that gives you a certain level of personal power. When you've got that kind of clarity and you can stand on center with yourself, you know that you can sell any product. And so if you happen to end up in a company whose values you don't align with, it's very easy to take that show on the road and just go somewhere else. You're not at the mercy of the company when you have a strong personal power base.
If I have to hire a salesman, right?
Or salesperson.
Salesperson, yeah. According to you, do I have to find someone who has this personal power, or I have to do something with him to help him to find who is he?
So the answer to that is, if you have a passion and a talent for bringing out other people's gifts and for helping them develop their personal power, then by all means bring somebody on for whom you can provide that. If that's not what you're up to, and you're just looking for somebody who can come in and get the job done, then hire somebody who's already developed that.
That's great things. So it could be a good strategy to find someone who don't have that, because you'll
mold them, right?
Yeah, and maybe you will discover what I am doing, for example.
Yes.
And he will be maybe more impactful if he believes a lot in what I am doing, if it worked on himself.
Yes. And that part of that growing up together process creates a certain bond.
So to find the good person, what could be the criteria, if I can help them to build their personal power? How to find the salesperson who will last in the duration, and not only in 1 month and say, oh, it's too hard, I don't want to sell.
Right. So the first thing you have to do is that you, the business owner, right, you have to get a clear picture of what is important to you. Especially if your goal is to begin to develop this person, then you want to make sure that, first of all, you don't hire anybody that you wouldn't take home for a barbecue, because you're going to be working with this person day in and day out, and you're going to be pouring a lot of your own personal love and attention and energy into them, and you want to make sure there's somebody who's going to reciprocate. So first thing is that you need to be really clear as the business owner, what is important to me? And you're going to have what the tangible and the intangible. So for example, right now I'm working with a client to build a sales team for him. And there's two things that we have to define. So first of all, when you go out to hire a salesperson, certain sales skills are very trainable, right? You can train people to do them. So you almost never want to hire for those skills. You want to screen people in or out as a result of those skills, but you don't necessarily want to hire for them. What you want to hire for are the intangible qualities that you can't train. So those qualities are they committed? Are they, for this particular company, are they committed? Are they loyal? You know, do they fit our team culture? Are they looking for a job or are they looking for this job? There are some intangible, things that the candidate has to bring to the party that you can't give them. And then once you've determined what those things are, what are the intangible things that I can't put into another human being? A desire to learn, a desire to grow. You can't make somebody else have that, and you can't train somebody else to have that. They either have it or they don't. So you look for those qualities, and then you say, do I want to build a salesperson from scratch? In which case, previous experience, prospecting, doesn't matter. But if you don't want to start at that level, then that would be one of the criteria that you'd look for. If they already have experience doing certain parts of a similar sales process, then they may be the ideal candidate, right? But mainly what you're looking for are those intangible things.
And how do you know if someone is committed?
Well, there's a number of ways that you can tell. So first of all, you would set up your interview process to uncover it. And a lot of the questions that you would ask, so you'd look at their past track record, you'd listen to the way they talk about what they've done in the past and what they want to do in the future. And you would ask certain interview questions that were designed to uncover areas in their life, not just work, but areas in their life where they've demonstrated commitment or not commitment. So for example, being a good team player. That's important to a lot of companies that are going to build a scalable sales team, where they know there are going to be several salespeople working together, and they must work together as a team. So I find a good screening question for that is, have you ever played competitive sports? And the answer is, yes or no. If they have, tell me about it. The way they describe the sport they played tells me about them. And then I'll ask, tell me about a time that you failed. And so one example is that a guy told me one time, yes, he played competitive soccer, and he was on this team. It was the underdog. They weren't supposed to win, but they just went on this streak, and they were winning, all the way up to the cup. And in the last minute, the goalie blew it. That's not a team player. It's not a team player when you say all the way up to the last minute, somebody on the team caused a loss. So you listen for what the way they describe their experiences tells you about the way they process life and information.
So yeah, it is an amazing question. If you want to build a sales team and you find someone very powerful in sales, but not a team player, what do you think about that? He will be maybe very powerful to sell if he's alone, but
Exactly. So if you're going to have a sales team that goes out on their own in individual things, then it may not matter that he's not a good team player. So being a good team player it's neither good nor bad. It depends on, it's like a tool, right? If you need to hammer a nail in the wall, don't pick up a screwdriver. Choose the right tool. So if you have a salesperson that the sales process is a solitary individual one, it doesn't require a lot of teamwork, then a really good salesperson that's not necessarily a great team player could be okay, provided the other values line up with you, the business owner. On the other hand, in a lot of the turnarounds that I've done, the top salesperson or the top sales manager had to go because they couldn't be a team player, because it was more important to them to be the best. They didn't just want to be the best, like I want to continue to grow and be my personal best. And and expand and get better and get better. It was, I need to be better because I have to beat you. So there's a difference between wanting to be the best and wanting to be better than everybody else, which, by the way, is another key to discovering if somebody's a team player or not, when they talk about where they ranked in a previous sales organization or in a previous competitive environment.
And what do you think about that? If someone wants to take the place of the manager,
what do you mean?
If you have someone in front of you in the interview,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously he wants to
Advance?
to raise in the company, what do you think?
I think that that's a wonderful thing. And in fact, I far prefer to hire people like that. And I would rather take a chance on somebody who has that as a primary motivator is probably somebody that wants to grow and expand. Now, the caveat to that is you listen to their language. Is it somebody who just wants to live in that title and live in that role, or is it somebody that wants to contribute at that level? So am I coming into your company and saying, I think I could make a powerful difference? I know who I am and I know what I bring. I'm willing to start at the bottom, but I believe that with the right opportunities and the grooming and getting to know the company and understanding everything, I could make a powerful difference in this organization in these ways. I love that. But the person that comes in and says, you know, I'll go ahead and start here, but I'm going to need to be a manager in 6 months. You're not telling me anything about, you're not speaking contribution. You're not telling me anything about the value that you want to bring the organization. You're telling me what you want. Listen to the language, and it'll tell you how they're oriented.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to focus on sale. Do you have some tips, advice to be more powerful when you sell something? Let's imagine that I will go back to the United States and I want to sell my sell speeches to CEOs, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to sell speeches to CEOs. According to you, what can I do and how can I learn to be impactful when I do that?
Okay, so we're assuming that you're going to be the salesperson and that you're going to sell your speeches to the CEOs.
Right.
So there's two things I would be doing simultaneously. First of all, I would get a sense of what CEOs I want to speak to, right? So I would do some market research to discover who are the CEOs that I want to speak to and why do I want to speak to those CEOs. Because the tighter, especially if you're developing that skill, the narrower your target, the tighter your focus, the faster you can develop the skill. And then again, you can expand the range once this initial skill's developed, right? So you want to sell your speeches. You have a good sense. If you're up there speaking, you've got speeches, you have a good sense who you are and what you're about, right? You're clear about that. Never leave that spot. Right? Never step out of your clarity about who you are and what value you're contributing. That is your base of power. Power is a result of clarity and congruency and commitment. So clarity, congruency, and commitment give you personal power. Once you're standing in your power and you're clear about the targets you want to hit, right? So that's the internal game. I want to talk to this CEO because this is the kind of organization they run, which tells me that they must be aligned philosophically with my message, or at least in very close range. And I know they belong to this organization and that organization, and they donate to this charity, and they, so you do the research, right? So not only who do I want to speak to, but why do I want to speak to them? What is the value I believe I could potentially contribute to them, and why do I think they have an ear to hear me? All that tightens your message and gives you that clear, direct line, right? Because you're being who you are, talking to who they are about how you could come together and create exponential value.
Great. I would love to have your opinion about something. In France, I do speeches and conferences and coaching about self-confidence and how to take action and be motivated. And my opinion, I think that companies will not buy that. My clients in France are particulars, are individuals.
Individuals, okay.
Individuals, right? Currently, I don't work with. I work sometimes with CEO, but in coaching, and I currently I don't do speeches for companies, maybe because I don't think they want a speech about self-confidence. I think they want something that will increase their
Yes.
income. I have few questions for that. Do you think I have to change that, or do you think I can present that in another way? Currently, I don't want to do speeches about sales.
Right.
Maybe I don't have to work with company. Yeah, a lot of questions I'm
Right.
wondering.
Okay, so the simplest, shortest answer is
Yeah.
it's all related, right? So you're right. Companies don't want to buy speeches about self-confidence because companies as an entity have a mission and a structure and a purpose in the world. And the purpose of a company is producing revenue, right? Producing profit. That's generally the purpose of a company. And if it's not producing profit, it's probably eventually not going to be a company unless it's some kind of nonprofit thing, but we're not talking about that. So the purpose of a company is to produce revenue, produce a profit. One of the ways that people produce revenue and produce profit is by executing their functional role in the organization well, right? Like a well-oiled machine. One of the ingredients to people functioning in their role really well is feeling very confident and motivated and focused, right? So that in the internal state of the individual in the organization is what produces the end result the organization is looking for. So all you have to do is tie those things together. So again, you'd go to a company and you'd take a look at what it is they're trying to do. What's the goal? What's the end result? Why are they in this game? And then you personally inside yourself step that backwards into what you do. Okay, well, the way this particular company is going to achieve its goals is by increasing, and we'll use this as an example, and we'll use the second one, increasing the number of customers it has. Well, the only way it's going to increase the number of customers it has is if its sales team starts doing better. Or they increase the size of the sales team, or whatever. You'd look to see what that was. But let's just say their sales team is possibly underperforming, or their operations team is underperforming. Somewhere in the organization there's underperformance. When there's underperformance, what is there always hand in hand with that? Lack of clarity, lack of confidence, right? Mm-hmm. Those always go hand in hand. When you have somebody who is really clear about how what they're doing affects the end result, and they're confident in their ability to get it done, it gets done. Right? That's the removal of obstacles.
Yeah, so if I have to change the title and in doing the same thing, maybe high performance consultant could be a better title for a company.
Absolutely.
Because it's amazing, because when I do speeches about self-confidence, my first step is destination. So you can't build self-confidence without a goal.
Exactly.
If you don't know why you have to take actions, you will not take action. It's not comfortable, so you will not do any actions. I'm sure it can help a company to grow. So you are saying two things. I have to ask the company what they need, what goals they have, and maybe change the title of what I'm doing to
speak to it. So it's as simple as, okay, company X, where are you trying to get to? Where are you right now? What's in your way? And then speak to what's in the way in terms of how you can impact that. Oh, what's in the way is this particular department never gets this done on time, and then it impacts that department, then it impacts that department. All right, then you look at that. How does what you do shift that? It's dominoes, right? Because it's all related.
Okay, so during you sell, you ask a lot of questions. What kind of questions do you ask?
Well, one of the primary questions I always ask is what I just said. Where are you trying to get to? Where are you now? And what's standing in the way, right? Because that's really, that's the whole game right there. And if I'm reading you accurately, one of the things that you're really good at is building a bridge between where somebody is right now and where they want to go. Right? So it's not, you don't walk around with a magic wand bestowing self-confidence on people. You don't have that power. But what you do have the power of is teaching people how to find a place in them and then build that out into where they want to go. And that bridge is self-confidence. That's the exact same process that you use in, actually that's a brilliant sales process right there, right? Who, as a salesperson, what's your goal? Where are you right now? What's in the way? How do I build a bridge between where you are and where you want to go? Or with a company, with an organization. And so whatever you tell me the obstacles are, then I'm going to ask more questions. It's not like there's a certain set of questions. It's whatever questions let you get clear about that you're sure that you're in agreement about where they want to go and that where they want to go is possible. And you're in agreement about what some of the obstacles are. When I say agreement, I don't mean you agree, yeah, that's an obstacle for you, but that you're clear that you both understand this is an obstacle, and that understanding is the same understanding, because you can't fix a problem they don't know they have.
Yeah.
Right?
So you ask the company or the CEO what obstacles you have to, and why you not, maybe it's not, why you don't succeed in that.
Yes, why you're not moving as fast as you want to move, why you're not able to move at all. But here's the key: the lens you're listening through is what makes the difference. So you spoke earlier with Paul Lemberg. The lens he listens through is strategies and tactics, right? He'll listen for the strategies and tactics and things that can get moved and shifted, because that's his gift. That's what he has to contribute, right? You would be listening from a different lens. You would be listening for, in what way are the obstacles he's describing really a matter of self-confidence and personal power on the part of his employees. And the reason that you have to stay, remember I said you have to stay firmly in your own power base and in the clarity in who you are and what you're offering? Because when you're listening through that lens, you're understanding whether or not there's something you can contribute. Here's the biggest fallacy about sales. A sales conversation and a sales process is not designed to get a yes. It's designed to discover whether or not there's mutual benefit and get a clear answer at the end, whether it's yes or no. So when you're listening to that CEO describe the obstacles through the lens of how does what I, David Laroche, how can I contribute and clear some of these obstacles? If you don't see a way, then it means you can't, and they're not the client for you. And no sale is a good outcome.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, I think so. And so you have their goal, you have who they are now, you have obstacles, and you have some links about what obstacles they have and what you can do for that. How do you close the sale? Yeah. How do you do that?
Okay, so after I've taken a clear inventory, and by the way, in the question asking, I'm making up words now too. In the question asking, you are not only get data mining for information for you, right? But you're also asking the right questions that open doors in their own mind. So when I'm asking questions about their goals, I want to understand their goals, and I want to keep asking questions until they start talking about the goals that hit an emotional response, because I need them to be emotionally connected to what they say they want. And I need to be assessing whether or not they really want that. Because again, it's impossible to, just like it's hard for people to be confident when they have no clear goal, they're not going to be motivated to take action because they have no clear goal. If you have a CEO who says these are the outcomes of the results I want, and there's no emotional attachment to it, it's just reading the laundry list, It's going to be hard to get them to make a decision, which means yes or no on the sale. And even if you got a yes from them, it'll be almost impossible to get them to create any change in their organization because they're not emotionally attached to what they say they want. So part of the questioning is to get them to emotionally attach to that which they say they want. So when I say we're both agree that this is the goal, that means we're both clear, yeah, I really want this. This really is the result I'm attached to. So then when we're asking the questions about the obstacles, we're finding out which are the ones that are really have the emotional attachment. So then when you get to the end of it, first of all, if you've asked good questions, and your questions are seeding the ways that you can help, it's almost a no-brainer at the end. Then it's as simple as, okay, if I could show you a way to get this and eliminate that, is it something you'd be interested in doing? That's question number one. Do you believe there's a way to do this? If they say yes, they believe there's a way to do it, then the second question is, do you believe I'm the guy that can help you? And that's where having stood in your own personal power the whole time pays off in spades. Because it's not enough for them to believe that this can be done. They have to believe that you are the guy that can deliver it.
So you ask that.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you think they can say no?
Absolutely.
It's okay.
And if they don't believe you can do it, why would you want to work with them?
Yeah.
That's a hard mountain to climb. And I've made those mistakes. I have been building sales teams and turning around struggling sales teams and working with business owners and entrepreneurs for 25 years. I have done my share of tilting at windmills. And I can tell you that while you can still go in there and produce a result, it doesn't last after you're gone if you didn't have complete buy-in from the beginning. Right? So I'm a good as salesperson as they come, and I can go in there and sell my services. And I can then make something happen. But I know that once I leave, things will backslide if I haven't shifted the person at the top along with me, if I haven't shifted the organizational culture along with me, if there isn't really buy-in from top to bottom, that this is where we want to go.
Great, I love that. I would love to know your opinion about, maybe, I don't know how to say that, maybe how to unleash the female power within.
Yes.
What is your opinion and between on the differences between male and women, and yeah, how to succeed as a woman?
Okay, so it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. When I approach, and by the way, the way that I build these stellar high-performance sales team is nothing other than working with every individual human being to understand where they want to go, where they're at, and what's in the way, and determining the level of buy-in that they really have in what they say they want, and their willingness to really identify and work with the obstacles, right? So it's the same process all the way through. So historically, I have not made a distinction between male and female, and I've trained thousands of salespeople of both genders. So what I think that maybe the better question is, because when it comes right down to it, it's all about the human being being very, very clear about who they are and what is important to them. So it's not just what is the value I, Rhonda Anderson, can bring to you, right? But it's about what constitutes value to you, and is there a match? Right? So, and will my bringing this value to you be of value to me? Mm-hmm. So I think that what happens, so in looking at the differences between men and women, I think that what happens is that men tend to be quicker decision makers and more decisive, right? So when we talk about that, what really makes somebody powerful is the level of clarity about their goal, right? Their congruency in terms of lining up their words, thoughts, deeds, and actions behind it, and their level of commitment to hitting that goal. What all that requires is that other possibilities get closed off, right? Once I decide I'm going north, I cannot be going east, west, or south at the same time. And I think for men, it's easier to instantly make a decision and close off all the other avenues and just move forward.
Yeah, I see that in my couple.
Yes. And with women, we, whether it's genetic, whether it's societal, we tend to be more multifaceted, multitasking, and it is more difficult for us to
focus.
shut off one line. So, for example, you take your average, woman who's maybe she's married, maybe she has kids or she doesn't have kids, but in her world, the husband does not cease to exist. The laundry doesn't cease to exist. Dinner doesn't cease to exist because I'm trying to hit this goal. My kids don't cease to exist. These things don't get closed off the way they can for men. And I'm not suggesting that men don't think about their wives or their laundry or all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we're sort of trained and possibly genetically different in that way. So it's a little bit more difficult for a woman to take the one target and only focus on that. And I think that the key to working with that, so staying inside the feminine power, and the key is always ride the horse in the direction it's going, right? Assume that whatever shows up is the route you're supposed to take. It is the best thing for the moment. It is always working for the best. So if I'm a woman that is having trouble sifting through the infinite possibilities to the one thing I want to focus on, then use those infinite possibilities to swirl around to what serves me the most in this moment, knowing that I'm not selecting against these other things.
I love
Right?
that.
So it's the difference between decision and choice. Decision is, I'm going north, no south, east, or west. Choice is, south, east, and west still exist. I'm choosing to go north for now. So it's holding the decision or the choice more lightly. It's been such a male-dominated world for so long that the patterns for success tend to fall in that clear, decisive, clear, decisive, clear, decisive. And that's an important energy. And we've all agreed that clarity and having a single target is the seat of power, right? And then lining up behind it. But the way to get to that clarity isn't always closing off every other possibility. Sometimes it's just prioritizing them.
Yeah, and I love the fact maybe a lot of women try to do the same as men and struggles a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's more harder for them to focus on one way, and maybe they will be focused on one way after let them try a lot more opportunities and follow what they want to do now. Maybe
Yes.
after they will be more focused.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm very happy to share that for women.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. I think it's helpful.
Yeah, it is. I think it is very helpful.
Yeah.
And I believe a lot in the power of modelization to learn fast and quick. Do you think a woman have to follow and model
A model?
another woman, or she can, for example, Julie, just next to us, if she wants to write a book or become a speaker, do you think she has to model a woman, or she can do also with a man?
So I think, first on the topic of modeling, you're absolutely right. It's the fastest way to learn because you're picking up patterns on all levels,
Yeah.
right? And, by the way, women are particularly good at learning that way. Because we're multidimensional, we are picking up patterns and information from everywhere more consciously than men are. So modeling is a great way for women to learn. You don't necessarily have to model after a woman. What you have to model after is somebody who embodies the way of being that you want to adopt. Now, you can do that two ways. You can find somebody who most completely embodies the way you'd like to move through business and life. Or let's say, for example, you're just trying to develop a particular skill. All you have to do, and again, this is the power of choice over decision, right? All you have to do is recognize that what I'm learning from Paul Lemberg is how to think about strategy in this certain way. My whole self doesn't have to become him. to learn that, right? I can maintain my own feminine power base, understand who I am, and that I am acquiring a valuable skill, a way of being that he has a strength in that I don't have. And I can let that part of me model that part of him without
Yeah.
losing the rest of me.
Yeah, I love that because I see a difference between Julie and me, and I think it's not because of the sex, maybe the typology of personality. It's more easy for me to learn from someone without being wanted to be like him.
Yes,
Just to
yes.
focus on one skill. I would like to learn from Obama how to speak,
Yes.
and in my opinion, Julie struggles sometimes to find a kind of mentor because there's something wrong in his personality. So I can't have in a model.
Yes.
So you are suggesting to learn to just focus on one skill, and you are not have to become like
Yes.
him.
Yes, and the way that you can do that, because just saying, hey, just learn to focus on one skill.
Because it's easier for me.
It's easy for you to say and it's easy for you to do, but and I don't know Julie, but I do know women. From the feminine perspective, that is impossible advice to implement. However, when you're taking that advice from the perspective of harness the power of choice, as opposed to decision. So decision says, just focus on that one quality of his and only model that and don't think about the rest of this. We're not wired that way, right? However, say to us, take everything in, select that which works for you and let the rest go. That we can do.
Great, I love that.
Yeah.